Ikano Estate is a brand that helps to bring Georgian wine to the rest of the world with high quality organic product.
Hello and welcome to another episode of 8. My name is Sanjay Chakrabarti. I'm the founder of Tag 8. Today's guest is someone who was my super boss when I was at the tax desk in New York. He was the tax head of the Americas. When I moved back to India and took on a markets role, he became a super boss globally, wherein he led the markets for EY at the global level. I'm absolutely delighted to have with me my dear friend Jay Nibbe. Jay, thank you so much for your time.
Sanjay, it's great to be back with you. I'm looking forward to our conversation and great to see the success you're having with Tag 8.
Thank you so much, Jay. Jay, getting into the first question, tell us something about yourself.
Well, you've covered my background with EY, but I'm a passionate traveler and really enjoy traveling around the world. Many people would realize that I've traveled to over 80 countries during my career, and I always like to spend extra time there exploring. I think it's very important from a global mindset perspective to understand and immerse yourself in different cultures, which has led to the business we're going to talk about in a bit. But that's certainly something that's a passion of mine, and I continue to do that post EY.
Great. Jay, tell us something about Ikano Estate. I mean, for an American who is busy probably 48 by 7, given the role that you held, how did Ikano Estates come about?
So, Ikano Estate is a Georgian wine producer and manufacturer. So, Georgia, which is sandwiched between Russia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and on the Black Sea, is the birthplace of wine. It has been making wine for well over 8,000 years. And because of my connections and spending some time living in Moscow and the CIS, what came about in 2008, following the incursion of Russia into the northern part of Georgia, is a an opportunity to come in and help Georgia pivot to a different type of winemaking. There was a ban put on Georgian wine exports into Russia, where over 90% of Georgian wine went. And so the organization, the opportunity that we created was to help invest in Georgian wine and pivot it to a more European style of winemaking. And I began that journey along with a number of other investors almost 15 years ago. We just celebrated our 15th anniversary. So that's how I got started in the winemaking business.
Fascinating. Jay, I was just going through and, Georgia kind of just about makes it to the top, say, 20 winemaking countries. At the same time, when I kind of got into further depth, it seems to be the cradle of winemaking. How does these two tie in together?
So the Georgian country is very proud of its winemaking business. It makes and it started an amphora type business, very large clay pots, quervies they call them, which are buried below the ground where the natural fermentation of wine happens. That traditional winemaking is part of our agenda and part of what we've been focused on. But the pride that has come with the winemaking is also the collaboration and the friendship that Georgians bring to their winemaking. It's a very passionate business. It's one that is full of friendship and energy, and they're very proud of the product they produce. So, working alongside our Georgian staff, our Georgian winemaker, we've been able to really help bring a combination of Western style winemaking and Georgian style traditions into Ikano Estate. And that for me has been the most exciting in kind of seeing the cultures come together to make some phenomenal wine.
Jay, I read that the way the wine is made or fermented is very different from what is otherwise done. It's done in clay pots or something of that sort. Would you like to kind of say how is it different? How is the Georgian wine different from what is available globally?
Right. So most of the time, European style wine, the grapes are squeezed, pressed, and the juice is put into either steel tanks and then often is used with oak for aging. The Georgian style is different. Skins and seeds go into the Cuervi. Ours are about 1,500 liters, so they're about 8 feet deep, buried in the ground. And that skin contact and fermentation changes the wine as well as changes the color. So our white grapes end up looking amber or orange and a very different type of taste and texture. Part of that's from the aging and the fermentation of the skin, where the wine will sit in those clay pots for anywhere from 6 to 12 months. And so whites tend to look orange or amber color, a beautiful texture. They also tend to have a bit more tannins. They tend to have a bit more structure. So you don't have the sweetness that you would get in a typical white, a Chardonnay, or other types of whites. And so that texture and that culture is fairly common. We do the same with reds, and also they end up with a slightly different structure, a little bit more earthy tone. And so it's a very common way of making wine in Georgia, but the rest of the world is not as familiar with it. And that's one of the things that Ikano Estate is intending to do, is bring that kind of wine to the rest of the world.
Outstanding. And would this qualify as organic wine?
So one of the things we've done that has been a big shift in our business is to move to organic. We began that process in 2019. It takes almost 5 years for the
Mm.
chemicals to come out of the ground and become certified. So we are now proud to say that we are certified as organic under EU standards, and that has allowed us to provide a different type of wine to the marketplace. While some use organic type principles, there aren't many in Georgia who are certified as organic, and we are, which I think is a real differentiator for both the quality and the perspective of wine, really embracing sustainability as part of our overall business.
And globally, when you say about the wine market, what portion would really be organic? Or is this something very specific to what Europe is doing across few regions?
I don't know the percentage. I have to believe it's less than 20%, probably a bit lower. Certainly, from a Georgian perspective, it will be less than 10% of wine produced is certified as organic right now. It is a trend. There's a trade-off. The volumes drop when you pivot. We saw that happening for the first couple of years. Chemicals produce lots of grapes, but they may not be of the quality and the caliber that a wine drinker is looking for. So we saw that dip as we pivoted away. The yields are starting to come back, so it does rehabilitate as the wine and the vines get used to the new types of treatments that you use to prevent disease, fungus, etc. But it has changed the texture of the wine and the content of the wine. I think it's much more refreshing. It holds its colors better, and I've certainly been very impressed with the journey we've been on. So we are now certified organic for all of our wine production, beginning with our harvest this year.
Excellent. Jay, one question that comes to my mind is I got really excited seeing you at the trade show, at a wine trade show, sitting out there and marketing Ikano Estate. And this is a journey from wherein you've been at the helm of EY. How has this transition been for you?
Well, it has been quite different. EY is an organization of 400,000 people. When you lead markets and you lead your go-to-market and you say we're going to go left, there's a lot of people that follow and help you get there. When you're in a small business of less than 10 full-time employees and you say you're going left, you look behind and sometimes there's nobody behind you. So we've learned to work together to try to make that pivot. The wine making has been the most fun to participate in and to observe. I was fortunate to basically live in the vineyard for over a month last year to understand soup to nuts, the whole process, how the wine is made, the care which our staff take to make certain that the wine is kept safe, clean, and uncontaminated. And so the biggest issue for us is getting it to market. And that is, in most countries, not an easy task. The wine business is very robust, it's very mature. Wine drinking globally is starting to decline a bit. So you're entering into a market that's shrinking a bit in size. And we think the differentiation of the quality of our wine, the organic grapes, and the connection to Georgia is going to be what's going to make it successful. but that go to market is the toughest road to get over in a very distributed, very dispersed distribution channel, highly regulated in every state and every country as you're dealing with alcohol. And so learning that has been a challenge, to say the least.
Jay, tell us your biggest high and biggest low of running Ikano Estates.
So early on, I was an investor along with a number of other colleagues, and we started with big ambitions, but we probably our low was realizing that we tried to do too many things at once. We launched a local brand in the country of Georgia, very hip, very cool, trendy, social media. Screw tops, which were introduced for the first time in Georgia in 2010, 11, and 12. Uh, Wildly successful, but at a price point where we basically lost money. We also launched a more traditional brand and trying to have two different brands going into two different markets, one in an export market, traditional winemaking, one in a trendy, hip, cool domestic market, distracted the business and financially put the business under massive strain. And that was a low point because we were, on the one hand, having what looked like success in the local market. But when you added up the numbers, it actually was misleading in that the cost to bring it to market and the price point with which we could sell it ultimately made it uneconomical. And we ultimately pulled the plug on that brand in 2015 and 2016 when competition came in and could do it at a much bigger scale. That was the low. The high point, I think, was we pivoted and we had to make a decision as shareholders to double down and focus then on this pivot to organic and more traditional classic winemaking. While we do sell in Georgia, we sell at a price point where we can economically at least break even or make slight profits. That means it's a much smaller market for us. That pivot to the higher quality, organic, and more unique styles means going to the export markets. It's tougher to compete in the US and Europe, the UK. We're looking to try to get into Asia. We're looking to try to get into Japan, Australia, but it takes longer. The good news is that the shareholder investor groups, at least a subset of them, were committed to funding the business as we pivoted that. And we've been able to stabilize, our management team in order to really focus. So I'd say learning to stay focused on a market that you're really going to stay focused on and be diligent. And then the other big lesson learned, or the other mistake that we've recovered from, is hiring the right people who know how to make quality wine in the business. We've had a number of false starts with people who, quite frankly, did not know what they were doing, and that impacted quality dramatically. We've rectified that. I'm very happy with the staff that we have, as are the shareholders and the investors who continue to support Ikano Estates. So we're very excited about where the business is headed.
Great, that's really interesting. Jay, coming into talking to the audience here, what is that one personal trait of yours that has really helped you as far as your business is concerned?
Look, I've always adopted a philosophy in life that you have to treat everybody as equals. I think one of the risks that you run in sometimes in the business that you're in, and certainly some of the success that I've had is you treat the CEO or the important people in the room differently than you treat the person serving coffee or the person at the security gate or the administrative assistant who's helping to get things done. The reality is that you have to treat everybody the same. And if you treat them with the respect, that pays back at some stage down the line. When you're in a business where you're selling, you sell to people that like to work with you, but more importantly, they buy from people they like. And so, how you make them feel when they're enjoying your product, your solution, your service is a huge difference. And the example I'll give is when I lived in Georgia for a month. I found it was odd when lunch was served, they would bring my lunch out to the restaurant area and set up a table and I was eating by myself, and I'm thinking, why is that? Well, it was because I'm one of the main shareholders of the business. So I'm, quote, the boss. And I said, well, where does everybody else eat? And they said, well, they eat in the kitchen. And I said, we're stopping. I'm here working. I'm here on the line. I'm helping to not get in the way, but helping to move stuff around and trying to figure out the business. I'm meeting with the staff. And that transformed, I think, the way they both looked at me and thought of me. And it helped me feel more included in what was going on in the business. And that subtle but very important change sent a message to them that I'm here working with you. And I think you get more out of your employees. I think you get more out of your customers if you keep that in mind, that no matter how successful or, quite frankly, challenged your business is, you're in this together, and that's where we're headed with Ikano Estate.
I just love that. And I can vouch for it. Jay, I've seen you doing it repeatedly when we've worked together when you've been around. So I can pretty much vouch for that.
Thanks.
So Jay, the last question, really, one breath again. Where do you see Ikano in 8 months and 8 years from now?
Well, 8 months from now, I hope we're going to be in a number of markets. We're in Europe right now. We're in uh, the US. We should get into London. We were at the London Wine Fair this week, which is a great entree. And I hope entering into parts of Asia and the Asian market. And so that's the first step, getting the sales, getting access or getting people access to our wine. 8 years from now, it's a sustained business. It's got great product out there. It continues to grow, continues to positively cash flow, and is a brand that helps to bring Georgian wine to the rest of the world with high quality organic product. And that for me will be a great success for Ikano Estate, and I'm looking forward to that happening.
Great, Jay. That sounds really positive. And before I let you go, I wanted to thank you for your friendship all these years and all the help that I have got after I've started my business out here. So, I'm really, really excited to see you. I know that getting a wine into India is a bit difficult, but I'll definitely connect you with people, hopefully, who you can at least chat with on that. And this is really exciting.
There is definitely a market. India now needs no visa to go to Georgia, and I'm amazed by the number of Indian tourists that are coming to Georgia every time I'm there. So I know there's a market for it, and we'd love to be there as well as all over Asia sometime soon. So it's great talking to you, Sanjay, and continued success with your business as well.
Thank you so much. And I do remember and definitely take on your offer of actually visiting your vineyard and getting a hands-on experience in Georgia itself.
That's the best place to experience it. So I welcome you and all your viewers.
Thank you so much and wish you all the success. Thank you.